Hello and welcome to this video lecture on how to organize a conference. I am Professor Jaishree Premkumar, your instructor for this video lecture. From the earlier lectures on conference, you must have understood the meaning and importance of conference, right? So, in this lecture, we will see how to organize a conference, which could be an academic conference, business conference, or a trade conference. We'll briefly see meaning of each of these conference before we move to our today's topic of discussion. So, first is the academic conference. Academic conference is a gathering of academicians such as scientists or lawyers or other professionals where research findings are presented or a workshop is conducted. Then comes a business conference, which is held for people working in the same company or in the same industry. They come together to discuss new trends and opportunities pertaining to their business. And last is trade conference. So, trade conference takes place on a larger scale. So, besides businessmen, there are members of the public who come to network with vendors and new connections are made. Such a conference consists of workshops as well as paper presentation. Okay. So, after getting acquainted with the types of conference, we will now see how to organize a successful conference. So, organizing a conference generally involves three stages. The first is pre-conference activities, then activities during the conference, and then comes post-conference activity. So, first let us begin with the pre-conference activities. Okay. Okay, first let me ask you a question. What do you think is the most important pre-conference activity or before the conference is organized? Yes, you are right. The first important thing to remember before organizing a conference is to make purpose of the conference clear to all the delegates so that they can prepare and contribute their thoughts or ideas effectively during the conference, right? Next, creating detailed budget is a vital part of conference organizing process. The organizers should make a list that detail all the items to be taken into account in the budget and how much money they will cost so that they remain within the budget, which is clearly defined. Next comes the location. The location should be as far as possible, be easily accessible to all the participants. Similarly, date must be finalized after taking into account public holidays, festivals or other such competing events. Then the duration should be based on the subject and the number of participants. So, after properly publicizing the conference through advertisements and emails, invitations should be sent to all the participants, that is delegates and the guest speakers, asking for their confirmation. This is done so that proper arrangements for the participants can be made. Now, when I say proper arrangement, it means registration process, seating arrangement as well as arrangement related to stationery, refreshments, etc. Next, an organizer should pay close attention to the catering facilities. Now, this includes preference for vegetarian and non-vegetarian food, especially during lunch or dinner breaks. Similarly, outstation delegates need to be provided accommodation facilities, right? So, these come under the pre-conference activities. Now, next we will see activities which happen during the conference. Okay. So, first, after acquainting delegates with all the inputs related to the purpose of conference, the organizer or the chairperson introduces the chief guest to all the delegates. After the chairperson introduces the chief guest, the inaugural session begins with a keynote speech given by the chief guest. Okay, so can you guess what is this keynote speech? Okay, let me explain. In keynote speech, the chief guest speaks about the goals of conference and its relevance in present times. Keynote speech thus sets the tone of the entire conference. And who gives this keynote speech? The speaker who is invited to give this speech uh, as the chief guest is usually an expert in the field related to the conference. Okay. Next is the technical session, which is also called as plenary session. Now, in this, as per the schedule, a number of technical sessions are conducted and time limit is set for each presentation. Then feedback is taken from all the participants at the end of each session uh, to understand the effectivity of the speakers. Okay, and the last session in this during the conference activity is valedictory session. Now, in this concluding session, the chairperson thanks all the speakers and delegates for their active participation, and the chairperson also summarizes the proceedings of the session. So, don't you think that after this valedictory session, it is the end of conference activities? Okay, so here it is significant to note that a successful conference always considers it important to end with post-conference activities. And this is done by two important ways. First, the chairperson analyzes feedback received during and after the conference to understand effectiveness of the conference. The feedback also helps in getting understanding of problem areas and possible solutions to remove those problems. Okay. The chairperson also sends out emails to all the delegates for their active participation in the conference. So these are the important post-conference activities conducted by the chairperson. Okay. So, this is how the conference is organized by the chairperson along with the organizers, taking into account the pre-conference activities, activities during the conference and post-conference activities, right? So, with this we end this video lecture on organizing of conference. Thank you for your attention. Namaste.